What is going on, guys? It is Trevor coming at you from the Tesla on FSD mode, and we've got big news about MSTR stock today. Before I get into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like MSTR, crypto, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Tesla, Nvidia, AI, robotics, anything like that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and please let me know what your Bitcoin price target is by the end of the year down below in the comment section. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, also like the video for me, please. Okay, let's get into it. MSTR. Okay, so Bitcoin price as of right now is 106,000, a little over 106,000, and everyone's wondering, why the change in sentiment? It was just 99,000 a few days ago, and everyone's throwing the FUD around Bitcoin, around MSTR, around everything crypto related. Well, I'll give you one reason: stimulus. We saw what happened the last time, in the last presidency, when they gave out stimulus checks, right? And what it did to not only inflation of like goods and services, but also inflation of assets, right? So I think that's what we're about to see again. Donald Trump has said, he's basically made promises saying that, hey, everyone's going to get, I think, a $2,000 stimulus check is what they're saying. As long as you're not a high net worth or high income earner. This stimulus, like, where do we think it's gonna go, right? Is it gonna have the exact same effect as last time, where it's probably just gonna like increase inflation of goods, services, and assets, including real estate, stocks, and crypto, right? That would be my guess as to exactly what happens, right? You increase the money supply circulating amongst the people, but you don't increase the number of outstanding shares of a certain company, or like the number of houses that are in a certain market, type of a thing. It's a lot easier to print money than it is to build quality businesses or build houses, right? That's really what it boils down to. So with that being said, that is like one of the biggest bullish catalysts for Bitcoin that I can see, at least in the short term, right? Long term, there's tons of bullish catalysts for Bitcoin, and I think most people are on board that Bitcoin's going to be a lot higher in a few years than it is today, right? But like, as far as a short-term upside in the stock, short-term catalyst, we keep hearing the Trump administration, whether it be Donald Trump himself, his son Eric Trump, and just the cabinet members, Howard Lutnick, they're all saying, hey, maybe load up on some Bitcoin right now. Maybe that would be a decent idea. That's also why they started, or at least why they IPO'd ABTC, American Bitcoin Treasury Company, right? Which is a miner/treasury company. And their overhead's even lower than like a regular treasury company, because they do all the mining themselves, right? And then they just hold on to the asset. But like, they keep saying, hey, maybe it's a good time to buy some Bitcoin, as well as Donald Trump. It seems like in almost every interview he has anymore, he keeps just saying that he wants to make America the Bitcoin/crypto capital of the world, So it's kind of like, a lot of politicians make they tell lies to get votes and whatnot, but like, he's pretty adamant about it, as well as he has his money where his mouth is, right? He's got tons of investments in crypto right now, specifically Bitcoin. It's a big deal when your president just keeps saying that, he wants, the U.S. to become the crypto capital of the world, and he has billions of dollars on the line. You also have the 50-year mortgage, right, that they're proposing, which I personally find to be a terrible idea, and I don't know why anyone would ever get a 50-year mortgage. I mean, that just seems ridiculous, but maybe you wanted to. So I guess there's two ways around it, right? Is that there's the idea where you can get the 50-year mortgage and you're going to have to get a higher interest rate than you do with a 30 or a 15, right? Because that's just the nature of the game. If you get a longer loan, you're going to get a higher interest rate because the lender's taking more risk. Now, that being said, let's say you get a interest rate of 7 or 8% and Bitcoin goes up 30 or 40. You can go get that nicer house that you want, make the lower payment, and then arbitrage the interest rate, right? But the problem is that most people that would get that 50-year mortgage, they wouldn't go and arbitrage the interest. They would just take that extra few $100s a month and they'd go spend it on luxury goods or items or going out to eat or whatever, right? They just they'd encapsulate it within lifestyle inflation. Now, that being said, if you were one of the few that would take the excess, money and throw it into some sort of, asset that grows at a higher interest rate than your mortgage would, then yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, right? But the whole point about it is, regardless of how I feel about 50-year mortgages, they are bullish for crypto. In my personal opinion, I think it's bullish for the real estate market because it's going to basically prop up all of the real estate that already exists. I think everything's going to get more expensive. We've already seen what's happened with gold, right? Where it's so expensive, and Bitcoin at this point is not on parity with gold. It's basically at a cheaper rate, or it's at discount to gold historically, right? So that's yet another reason why Bitcoin should increase dramatically in the near term, right? So like all of these things are super bullish on Bitcoin, and this is another reason why Robert Kiyosaki, rich dad poor dad guy, big gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and real estate guy, right? He's about the hard assets. He's about scarcity. That's what he cares about. He's made a public call for Bitcoin to be 250K by next year in 2026. That's his price target for 2026. And I gotta say, I'm right there with him. I'm not nearly as wealthy as that guy. I think he's a billionaire. He's got to be a billionaire at this point. But yeah, this is basically his argument, is that Bitcoin is at such a deep discount with respect to gold, with how much gold has went up over the past, 10 months, the past year to date, right? And a lot of people use that as like an attack vector. They'll say, hey guys, gold's up 40 or 50% on the year. Look at your crappy Bitcoin, your Bitcoin's only up however much year to date. Okay, well, there's a couple of arguments against that. Number one, and the most obvious one is, year to date, from January 1st until November 10th or whatever it is today, Bitcoin's not up as much as gold. But if you actually look at the last year, so like from like November to November, it's up a lot more than gold is. It's just Bitcoin has more violent upswings when it does go up, right? It's kind of like the S&P 500, where if you miss like the best, over the last 50 years, if you were out of the market in the last 50 years on the best 50 days, you would have been negative. So it's like a lot of times these assets, they just have really good days, right? And and if you miss those good days, then you're kind of SOL, right? So that's what I wanted to make this video about today. Is like there's a lot of uncertainty centered around that $2,000 stimulus check right now from the tariff. It's like a tariff relief check, essentially, is what you can consider it as. Where like, hey, the feds are bringing in, hundreds of billions of dollars a year from tariffs that are being, that the citizens of the United States are paying to the federal government, right? These tariff money, and it's basically just like a rebate check. So and 2,000 times what is there? 350 million people here, and I imagine there's going to be tens of millions of people that don't get it, that are high income earners. But at the same time, it's like you're definitely putting a lot of money out into the United States that wasn't there before. And like I said, it's just a repeat of what we saw in 2020, 2021, right? Where like just everything's going to go crazy, and people are going to start saying, hey, we need to raise the minimum wage again because all the goods and services are getting so expensive, all the assets are so expensive, no one can afford a house. And like I said, I think the 50-year mortgage is just going to make housing more expensive. The idea is to make it more accessible to people with less money, but I don't think that's what's going to happen at all. I think people look at like what their monthly payment is and what they can afford, and they can say, oh, well, if we just put it on a 50-year mortgage, then we can get this house. But it's just going to raise the house prices, is really what it is, because there's a lack of supply of quality homes. So if, I just see it raising the price of housing and not actually fixing the true problem, which is, the lack of supply of homes. Now, that being said, I do think that embodied AI could definitely tackle, a problem similar to the housing problem, right? And modern technology, could do a lot of damage. It can make, quality homes a lot cheaper in the future, and in the near future too. And maybe not this year or next year, but like within 10 or 15 years, maybe 3D print houses, use robotics somehow. what will actually transpire, I don't know. But what I do think is the whole point of this video, right, is that the $2,000 stimulus package is very, very, very bullish for Bitcoin, right? Because you're literally just like giving money back to the citizens, right? That then have to go. They're going to go spend it. Most of them are going to go spend it very quickly. The last time this happened, Apple skyrocketed, Tesla skyrocketed, Bitcoin skyrocketed, Louis Vuitton, companies like that, like the luxury good market, skyrocketed. So it's like the people aren't going to keep this money. There's going to be some people that invest it, right? That put it into these assets like Apple, Tesla, Bitcoin, stuff like that. But there's going to be a whole nother sect of people that are going to be like, oh, well, now I have this extra money to spend. I'm going to go out to eat more. I'm going to go buy these luxury purses. I'm going to go buy, you know, that snowmobile or whatever, or that nice motorcycle, whatever it is. But what I'm saying is it's definitely going to drive GDP growth. We'll put it that way, growth in GDP. It's going to drive spending by the consumer, right? Which is going to drive trust, and basically it's going to drive the stock market up, right? That's what I'm trying to get at, is like the stock market and crypto market are gonna explode if these $2,000 stimulus checks actually come out. And right now there's just speculation. Trump has basically promised it on X, right? But we don't know in what form. Howard Lutnick has said that the form of these stimulus is going to be like potentially in like already baked into the big beautiful bill, which is, you know, the no tax on tips, the no tax on whatever it is, like no tax on like the first $25,000 worth of overtime you get, you know, that kind of a thing. Like it already might already be baked in. Which if that's the case, I don't understand that. But the other idea is like, when do they give this $2,000 out? If it is just a $2,000 check, right, and it's not baked into the big beautiful bill, then when is this $2,000 going to come to us? And that's the big question, right? Whether it's by the end of the year, you know, like kind of we can have like a Christmas time rally, whether it's the beginning of next year, or whether the government holds off until like the middle of next year, right before midterms, right? And I can see that as well. You know, try to, you know, basically buy the election, which to be fair, a lot of presidents have done before. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I basically what I'm trying to get at is like, there's a lot of uncertainty around this stimulus bill right now, and yet we've already seen assets like go up quite a bit overnight. This is Monday morning. The stock market hasn't even technically opened yet. It's 7:50 Central Time. The stock market technically opens at 8:30, but we've seen pre-market like Bitcoin's up like 5%, you know, Tesla's up like 3%, like everything's just up massive. Like, and the S&P 500 is almost back up to all-time highs again. It's like 6-7, like SPY is like 677 again or something, and I think the all-time high is 685. So yeah, stimulus is definitely very bullish for the stock market, for the economy, I don't know, and for the economy in the short term, but it definitely creates like it furthers the wage gap, you know, and the net worth gap. But there's uncertainty around the $2,000 stimulus package, and when the certainty comes in, that's when we'll probably see a lot more activity as far as like price increase or decrease of like Bitcoin or Tesla, or, you know, some risk on assets. So yeah, and then, well, like I said again, just to summarize the gold thing, it's like gold's went up a lot, Bitcoin has not. So it really indicates that either gold's going to come down or Bitcoin's going to come up, right? And we're at pretty low prices still, you know, 106K, all-time highs is like 126K for Bitcoin. And that all transpires into MSTR, right? Because like I said in previous videos, if you believe in Bitcoin, you have to believe in MSTR. With a couple caveats in there. But yeah, guys, I guess I'll end the video with that. If you did make it this far, 14 minutes in, what are you doing? Definitely subscribe to the channel. You know, we talk about risk on assets, Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, stimulus packages, all sorts of breaking news, you know. You don't want to miss it, right? We can all make money together. I'm a big firm believer in free speech. So let me know anything you have to say about this video at all in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the stimulus bill, what you think Bitcoin price target is for the end of the year, Bitcoin price targets by 2030. I'm very interested in what my viewers have to say about the crypto market, as well as what this stimulus bill is, how it's going to affect the overall stock market and crypto markets. So yeah, guys, with that, thanks for viewing, and have yourself a fantastic Monday and a fantastic rest of your week.